Hello? Thank you. There were little technical difficulties of the mic room. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Last week we saw the 9th shloka, so we'll read till the 11th one. Let's chant this together from the first shloka. कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं कृतिमहो ददौ पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगत ईषधीयुक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृद्देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जपध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्रोतसा समं सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परं भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसद्भावसुस्थितिः भावनाबलाद् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मनः स्वस्थता क्रियाः भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितं वायुरोधनात् लीयते मनः जालपक्षिवत् रोधसाधनं चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका. In the Chinmay Mission publication, in the 12th shloka, in the Sanskrit, it is written as Shakhayor Dvaya. You have to add a E matra on the top. So far, what has been talked is concluded in a beautiful conclusion in the 10th shloka. A synopsis of what has happened so far. Hristale manaha swastata kriyaha. What is the purpose of Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga Bodha Nishchitam Kim. What is the purpose? So the purpose is Hristale Manaha Swastata Kriyaha. To bring the mind in complete abidance into the heart. We have seen several times as to what is the difference between the intellect and the heart or the mind. In a very generic way of speaking, we often refer to the mind in Vedantic terms. We refer to it in general equation as the state of heart. And the mind, which in very colloquial terms, we use it as intellect. So there is a little confusion whenever we talk of mind, and we may think it is intellect. And when we talk of intellect, then we figure, what are you talking about? So in Vedantic terms, mind equates to heart, and the intellect equates to buddhi or the decision making capacity. At the mind level or the heart level, whenever our mind is disturbed, our emotions are disturbed, our emotions are distracting slash disturbing. Distraction leads towards disturbance. Whenever our emotions are disturbed, naturally our hand goes to a certain spot. And where does it go? You didn't say that, my heart is aching. I'm feeling really heavy. It goes naturally here. That is the seat of emotions. Right here, right above the solar plexus, where the rib cage parts, anatomy. Have you worked on, what do you call it, cadavers? That is the seat of heart, spiritual heart. There is nothing physical, it is only subtle. And that is the place where even the Chaitanya, the consciousness, springs forth from. That is the seat of emotions. And whenever we have a critical case, as simple as some math equation, you have the ledger wherein you have the monthly expense. You have spent about $3,000 on your shopping, but it is not adding up. You have already spent it, but it shows 2,600. Where did the $400 go? And you keep cracking at it. Where does the hand naturally go? In search of a brain, in search of buddhi. It scratches. And that's what gets heated up in a heated argument too. Lack of synchronization between buddhi and manas. Mind is pulling towards one direction, emotions are pulling towards one direction, decision is pulling towards a different direction. At that moment, when there is a constant rupture within, we can name that person as Pujya Swami Confusion Ananda or Swamini Confusion Ananda. Established in confusion. And this confusion need not be from outside. It's a pure confusion born from within to impact within. So it is all democratic, right? By the self, for the self, of the self. Confusion. Constant state. And where do these emotions go? Usually emotions go towards a natural inclination towards a world of happening, the world of becoming. And that's what makes us a samsari. Samsari does not mean that somebody who has gotten into grihastha ashrama, holding on to samsari. That doesn't make them a samsari. Who is a samsari? The one who is not able to control, the one who is not able to give direction to this seat of emotions. Meaning the intellect, which should have clarity, often has that clarity, but does not have enough strength to guide that emotion to the right direction. Therefore, right since probably 4, 5, 6 years old, when somebody wants to give us the right direction, what is our instant reaction to such people? Our elders, parents, well-wishers. We write them off and say, I know. You don't need to tell me, I know. I call that, right, IKEA. I know everything already attitude. Buddhi has that clarity but does not have enough stamina to follow it through. A holiday season. And you already know that you are about 20, 25, 30 pounds heavier than you should be. According to the size and BMI. Here BMI is body mass index, not body, mind and intellect. Well, what to do? The moment there are those pastries and nice enticing stuff, this time only I'll start observing myself from the next time, and then swaha, and then aha, revel. You should not do wrong things. Morally, ethically, value-based, wrong things. But doing them at that instant moment gives you a sense of gratification, but a sense of guilt because your intellect knows very clearly that what you have ended up doing is not something right. And then you carry that guilt around. I don't know, I'm a bad person. I'm a loser. I'm good for nothing. Usually when people come for counseling and say they claim that I'm good for nothing, so I said, congratulations. Why? You're at least good for nothing. Good at something, right? And that's not good enough. How do we patch these two things together wherein they are synchronized? Thought, emotions, decisions, emotions, word and deed. They have to be in absolute synchron. We may try to pull on a beautiful gesture saying, oh, I am very clear. But inside we know if we have done something right or wrong. Don't we? Do we need somebody else to sit on our head to say, you have done a stupid thing, stupid fellow? No, we know how stupid we are. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudha Mate. And whose mati are we calling Moodha here? Self-analysis. We know we have done something wrong. And that rupture constantly is eating us from within. And sometimes when we have done something wrong, we need to have immense courage to forgive oneself. If we have not learned the art of forgiving oneself, learning from it and moving forward, we can never forgive anybody else outside. Have we never done any mistakes in life? But it's our choice whether I carry the burden of that mistake or the wisdom of that mistake. Once you have the courage to carry that wisdom forward, then you have an automatic brakes built in to not repeat the same mistake again and again. To bring that internal synchronization, to bring that internal integrity between thought, which is the decisions, and the emotions, they back each other into the right direction. Once they both are in tune, then what you utter, what you say, and what you do are automatically in synchronization. Now, such people have got Vak Shuddhi. Vak Shuddhi, they utter everything pure. I was recently with somebody in one's family for Bhiksha, and they said, Swamiji, don't feel bad, but the first time we heard Gurudev, we come from a Bhakti Sampradaya, a totally devotional tradition, wherein people are very, very humble and docile, and suddenly we hear this Gurudev, it's like a smack into your face. You stupid fellow! And then Gurudev screams at you. And so, oh, where did this come from? I feel a little agitated. When steps have to be taken to correct ourselves, we have to be firm, courageous, and loving. If we cannot tend to ourselves with love, do you think we can tend to others with love? There will be some hidden agenda always. Why are you trying to be nice? There's something behind. Like kids always do that to their parents, right? Mommy, you are the sweetest. And the mommy is like cautious now. What do you want? How did you know? Huh? Your very expression. Dad, you're awesome. And Dad says, what do you want now? Nothing. Why do you have to be like that? Genuinely, you're awesome. I said, "Theek hai, beta. I have not become a dad just like that. I know what you're ask." Learn how to integrate oneself from within with love, courage, and firmness. One step at a time. Because sometimes we fail to understand that we do something wrong, and constantly confessing that we do something wrong as honesty does not cut it. Once you have recognized something as wrong and you have the courage to accept it, honesty accepted, but how do you correct yourself to the next level? That is what substantiates and brings depth to that honesty. Oh, I am being truthful. How long you will be dumb and truthful? You have to be wise and truthful. You see the difference? That synchronization has to come in. That vak shuddhi happens. That even like people like Gurudev, when they say use that harsh word like stupid, it doesn't feel like they're using a wrong word, because there is that love behind it which is trying to reach out and correct, knock some sense into that muddle-headedness of ours. Vak shuddhi happens. Once vak shuddhi happens, then the next step is vak siddhi happens. It's almost like what you utter and it tends to happen. You must have read through a lot of our Ramayana and Bhagavat and other scriptures, wherein the masters have taken a handful of water and then did some mantra and then and suddenly whatever they said turned out to happen. How did it happen? It's because vak siddhi. Because of that integrity. Our equipment is not a dull equipment that we have. The equipment has immense strength and potentiality in it, which we constantly drain. Instead of constantly draining it, if we can be resourceful enough to tap all this and synchronize it, you see, it's what a dynamite it is. What is an amazing sense of strength that you draw from within. Now, how do you build that? Next step. Ramana Maharshi ji has done an amazing job, step by step, how he develops the thought. How do you build that? Build that strength within. When people are given an amazing jewel at an age wherein they don't recognize what that depth of that jewel is, it's just a piece of stone. It happened, once I was at somebody's house in Bombay, and they had lived about 15-20 years in Singapore, and they had just shifted, and I knew them very well. So I went to meet them in Bombay. I had gone with my young friend who was a very good businessman, and his job was into gold and diamonds. So he also tagged along with me. We met after 2-3 years, so we kept talking, and he just tagged along. So we reached to this place, and we sit down there. They've gone inside just first 2 minutes, gone inside to bring some water for both of us. And this fellow looks at me and he says, "Are they stinking rich?" Meaning the host where we had gone, he said, "Are they stinking rich?" I don't think so. They are maybe, not very rich, but maybe upper middle class. Why do you say so? He says, "The centerpiece there." And there was a little centerpiece, some floral kind of a thing, some crystal cut. He said, "That is pure, genuine diamond." And my eyes widened up and I said, "What are you saying?" They are using it as a paperweight. So these people come in with water, and then I said, "Do you know what that is?" He said, "Yeah, we purchased in Singapore and on the street side at $20-25 Singaporean dollars long time ago, and since then it has been used on the center table as a paperweight." So my friend looks at them for their ignorance and says, "Do you know it is a diamond? And all those crystals in there are diamonds. And its worth was about 1,000 times more than what they had paid for it." Immediately the husband takes it and gives it to the wife and said, "Tomorrow, locker. Let's take it to our jeweler, evaluate it and put it in the locker." Because the moment you know how valuable it is, you start treasuring it. Otherwise, you keep wasting it. It's almost like the parrot story. Have you heard of the parrot story? I must have told you many times. In the forest, there was a group of parrots living in a tree hollow. The oldest of the parrot used to gather all the young ones, chick or youth empowerment program, whatever you call it, and tell them, when you go out into the world, when you fly across, there is a beautiful clearing smack in the middle of a dense forest, and in that beautiful clearing there are grains. Unusually, those grains seem to be not natural to that surrounding. Do not swoop down and start eating it, because it may be a snare and you can be caught and you can be killed. So many times that this old parrot had repeated this episode, that the young ones had almost had it memorized. Not just memorized, but also could imitate. How you imitate your parents, and your parents go off and you have a sibling and then you look at the sibling. So they could imitate that old parrot in his voice. He is going to go off again. Don't go down, don't pick those grains, it may be a snare, the hunter can pick you up and you can get killed. And they would high-five each other. One day they were flying, and while chanting this mantra which the old parrot had given, they see a clearing, they land, they start picking those grains, and they get ensnared. And while they are being picked, they are still repeating that old parrot's wise words. What is the use of it? So pay attention to the beautiful method how to build that internal strength. We have already chanted the shloka. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha jala pakshivat rodha sadhanam. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha. This is called in Ramana Maharshi's language as prana vikshana, or in the pranayamic language it is called as sahaja pranayama. What does sahaja pranayama mean? To be conscious of one's own breathing and to be able to regulate it to an unhindered pace. Usually when we are extremely angry, how is our breathing? Have you seen the cartoon like in the Tom and Jerry, and there is that bulldog with a collar, spiky collar that it has. What is the bulldog's name? It may be Spike, right? And when it gets irritated, it stands in that stance, and then the nostrils are shown at a close-up. They are swelling up, and there is puffed air coming out. When we get angry and mad, whenever somebody gets really mad in front of me, my mind is already drawing a caricature of a bull taking that stance and pushing its one foot into the ground, and that puffed air coming out. There he goes, come on, it's going to attack now. At that time, if I bring out a smile on my face, it's going to be faster than later. So I have to keep a straight face. I have to be very sincere. So when you are angry, it's like pressure cooker under pressure which is ready to burst. It's very unrhythmic, erratic pattern of our breathing. Vayu rodhanat. Rodhana is to regulate it. How do you have to regulate it? In the pranayamic techniques, there are various techniques. Inhalation with certain count, then retention with a certain count, and then exhaling with a certain count, and external retention with a certain count. Here we are not talking of any of that complicated mathematics. But keep it very, very simple. Prana vikshana. Inhalation and exhalation should be at equal speed. Slow it down. Actually, when you become very conscious of your breathing, it becomes naturally very rhythmic and in a beautiful pattern of inhalation and exhalation. It's very difficult at this moment. So what do? So sit straight, not right now, but during that time when you're practicing sitting for japa or dhyana. Close your eyes so that the external light doesn't become a hindrance. And then breathe in gently but deep. Don't retain it. And gently release it. If you observe the omkara that we do in the beginning, many of us come from various activities into satsang environment. The mind is still hanging on, it's a cling on, it clings on to various things that we have done. We have to snap that mind out. Or if your mind is like mine, that after 1.5, 2 years, shots of coffee go in, I feel sleepy. So you have to break that pattern. How do you break that pattern? Breathe in gently, and as long as that breath lasts, chant the mantra along with it. 3 times, and it will snap you out right away. Only if we can do it as a conscious practice day in and day out. Don't tell me that same old story. I don't have time, There's so many platforms in which we can find a few moments here and there wherein we can start doing it. Definitely don't do it while driving. Oh, what happened? I was meditating while driving. Don't do it while you're cutting vegetables. Oh, what happened? Thumbs up. Why am I trying to meditate while cutting? I was trying to be in the present moment during cutting vegetables. Don't do such mistakes. When we talk about taking a break, you have been seriously studying, so-called studying, preparing for MCAT. Preparing for LSAT. And you have to have that rigorous study. And it's like we have never given a sincere study, so suddenly there is an information overload. And the head seems to be heated up. Like, when you do dosa, in between, after one dosa is taken out, the pan becomes a little too hot, so you throw little water on it. So similarly, you take some water and throw, probably you'll start seeing the steam come out of the head. Instead of taking a break, trying to watch some YouTube or some kind of a movie or some kind of a junk gossip, that break, even for 2 minutes, if you can do this practice, you will see how sharp and steady the mind becomes. And it will not be instantaneous. You will have to practice this for a while to see it take complete impact. And we do, hardly in a week, 2 days or 3 days, and then resign saying, I tried, it doesn't work. Months of rigorous practice of this, and you will see how easy it is to access one's own mind. Vayurodhanat. Liyate manaha. What happens to the mind? Mind here meaning constant flow of thoughts. What happens to that? The speed at which the mind is running is instantaneously put at brakes. Just by observing your breath. Jala pakshivat rodha sadhanam. A bird which can really fly really fast. When they are yet to be caged. So what do? They tie a small thread, strong enough thread, to its leg and leave it on that tree branch. So every time what it is, it tries to fly and leave, and seems to have gotten that momentum. How long does that momentum last? As long as the thread. And once that thread pulls back in, it has to come back and settle down on the tree. Similarly, when you can control breathing, can you snap out of your thought at will? Yes, no? Emotions, thoughts. But definitely you can control your breathing at will. Now control your breath. You can control your speed at which the thought is running. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha. You can control it. You can start regulating the speed at which the thought runs. A simple shloka. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 words. And he has given an amazing tool in 5 words. What a beautiful shloka this is. All that you have to do is, we breathe. Breathing happens naturally, but we are never conscious about our breathing. In fact, we are not conscious of anything in life. And many times you say, oh, how did this happen? Did I do it? I'm impressed. And if that question comes, first thing that you'll have to evaluate is, how did you reach there? Unconsciously. How do you build that conscious existence? Start with conscious breathing. There is no doership involved. All that you have to do is observe inhalation and exhalation. How simple can be the process? We say spirituality is difficult, broken down to its simplest formatting. Breathing naturally happens. Does anybody sitting here have asthma? Yes, no, all right, I don't know. Some response? None of you? You use those inhalers. Thank you. You don't use that, right? So your breathing is normal. Touch wood, it is normal. All that you have to do is become conscious of your breathing. So impactful is this sadhana that even athletes are taught this method. 50, 60,000 people shouting. And at that time, you're taking a basketball into its hoop. Who is the recent shining star who has done amazing in the last season? What's his name? LeBron James, thank you. Good to have you here. LeBron James. One side there is LeBron James, the other side there is Shaq. Shaq O'Neal. Have you ever seen his game? He could, for God's sake, never hit a three-pointer. It's not while he is running. Even when there is a foul and then he has to shoot a three-pointer, it never ever goes in. He just was a star because of his bulldozing power. LeBron James, it almost seems like an art. That just by effortless thing that he takes and he closes his eyes and does it, probably it goes into the hoop. I don't know whether it was Michael, what was his name? Jordan. There was a video that I saw a long time ago, wherein he stands into near a slot machine and he takes a coin and flips it. The flipped coin goes straight into that slot. Imagine to do that when 60,000 fans are on the top of their lungs. The commentator is shouting on the top of it, and on the top of it there are these constant music. What is that? We will kill you. $100,000 is the capacity of those speakers. Boom, 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 hitting. You can feel that thud when you're sitting even in the nosebleeders up there. Imagine being in the center of it, all of this nonsense. And then to take a three-pointer. So what do? They're taught, observe your breath. Inhale and exhale slowly. And the best part is, this is the most user-friendly handy tool. You don't need a japamala to be carried around. You don't need a murti to be carried around. That every time you have a problem, put that murti, look at that murti, imagine that murti, and nothing like that. The simplest. Wherever you are, you see that emotion building up and taking a grip at you. All that you need to do is breathe. Breathe consciously. And you will see that entire emotional speed suddenly is put under brakes. Now if there is a river in spate gushing down and you don't open the dam doors, not that the doors are dammed, it's just there is a dam and those doors are not opened, what will happen to that entire dam structure? It will collapse. Similarly, when there is that emotional thing and you have put a brake and you don't have a proper channelizing for it, the internal system will collapse. And sometimes you collapse so bad that to build again is an impossible task. So how do you channelize it? So in the 12th shloka it is said, we have already read that shloka, Chittavayavas chitkriya yutaha shakhayordvayi shakti mulaka. Chitta vayavaha chitkriya yutaha. Both the mind or the thought and the vital air, the pancha prana, are stemming out from, with the support of Chaitanya, consciousness. In order to reach to that root core of Chaitanya or consciousness, either you can catch hold of the thought or catch hold of the breath. You are in a balcony. We used to do this when we were in the ashram, Bombay ashram, Sandipani Sadhanalaya. We didn't have good amenities then, but we had lots of amazing time. Have you heard of the mangoes called Alfonso? Apus. Yeah, the squeezable ones. The sweetest mangoes. There are about 63 of those plants, those trees. Each tree would have at least thousands of mangoes. And there were a couple of trees near the Brahmachari quarters. And you have to lean to catch few. Usually they are all done in the first part of the season. There are those far-fetching ones. They are really far. You can see it is ripened. You don't pluck it at that time. Some bird will really dig into it and not finish it and leave it to rot. So what do? You can't reach it. But how do you get that fruit? What's that? Still it won't help. Or you catch hold of their legs and they go lean there and you're at 80 feet high. Catch hold of the branch that you can hold on to. Pull that close to you. That branch which is far away gets closer. And then pull that one closer. And diligently lean forward carefully to hold that fruit and pluck. And when we later developed a lot of skill sets, those of us who could climb the tree, those of us, we had a lot of these scaffoldings. Is that what, around the building that you, so there was this scaffolding and there was a long bamboo. So we tried to hijack a long bamboo, strong bamboo out. And to that, with a hammer, we had flattened out a nail and sharpened one edge and made it into a hook, almost like a Captain Hook's hand. So the inner edge of that hook was sharp. So tied it to this bamboo. And underneath this bamboo hook, there was this sack that we tied in. So the farthest, so we, 2-3 of us, hook it and pull it. It will not fall down. Why? We have that sack underneath. We have developed lots of skills there. So we were in a lot of problem as well for that. Because we didn't know that it was given for at least to some marketeer, and he found us plugging. And after knowing that, it didn't stop us from doing it, but still. The point being that you develop a technique. Similarly here, when you know that thought with its speed that it runs, right at that moment you cannot hit and brake. It's almost like your car is on an icy platform and you try to hit brakes. It doesn't work. Instead, your car goes for a spin. Your whole system goes for a spin. Have you been ever in that situation wherein you're really getting agitated, but you cannot scream at them at that point? You can feel that. You get out of that situation and get out into another and try to vent it out. Tried it sometimes? Like in the car drivers, they get frustrated. And their utter frustration, this is a tiny little space, 3 feet by 3 feet, what can you do? They're weathered glasses, so you cannot really punch in. How much ever you know your taekwondo or judo, you cannot punch in that. So what do? On the steering wheel, At that moment, when you apply sudden brakes on directly on the thought, the whole system goes out of control. Instead, what do? Control the breathing, slow down the breathing, put it in a rhythmic pattern, and you will find that the emotion is under control. The speed at which it is going is reduced. Now, to handle something which is flowing really fast and something which is slowed down, what is easier? I give this example quite often. To walk across the road which is right in front of the ashram in Devonport is easy. There's not much of traffic. You still have to be careful. Across there is this Jewish synagogue study school or whatever they have. Middle of the night they have their classes. Sometimes when I'm coming back, and you have to be really extremely cautious. Why? Head to toe they are in black color, in darkness, and they're crossing the road. So when you're crossing the road, you have to be careful. Have you ever tried crossing a freeway? I am glad to see there are two more heads nodding along with mine. It's scary. Because the cars are passing past you like a whiff. Have you ever tried playing with somebody who can throw a baseball at the speed of a pro? How speed do they throw the ball at? 90, 100 miles per hour? I'll tell you the experience because I have played cricket with a pro team. It was fun. You could see the ball, when they released that ball, you could see that ball, a red dot coming towards you. After that, you hear the sound of it pass by you. What happened in between? A haze. You don't even know that it has passed by you. That's how is this thought. How do you control it? Through your breathing. Shakhayor Shakti Mulaka. There are two branches, one is thought, one is breathing. You control the breathing, you control the thought, and through that you reach to that core, which is consciousness. Any questions? There is, I think, 5 minutes. Vak Shuddhi is purity of word. It's not just the word which is pure, but also the intention behind the utility of that word. Sometimes we use, but the word may be pure, but the intention is sarcastic, caustic behind it. You are very intelligent. Intelligent is a good word. You are very intelligent is a good sentence, good usage. But what is the intention behind? Is contrary. Right? So it doesn't have the purity in it, Shuddhi. So having that Shuddhi, that purity in thought and word expression is called Vak Shuddhi. Vak Siddhi is you utter that word because of the practice of Vak Shuddhi for years of that tapas. That whatever you utter starts happening. Siddhi, you start accomplishing. When there are the little kids, the Bhagavatam first story starts off with Parikshita in utter despair moment. He puts a dead snake around a rishi's neck. His son a 8-9 year old kid gets so mad. How dare you insult my dad who is meditating? And what does he say? For this insult, you will be killed in 7 days with a snake bite. A father who later wakes up from his dream and from his meditation and says, do you know he is a king? He has got bigger responsibilities. For a dead snake, you just cursed him. And right at 7th day, the most poisonous snake comes down to bite him. 8-year-old kid's world. Our words do not carry any impact. It does not inspire us. How can it inspire others? Because we don't value our own commitment. I'll wake up by 5:30. I'll be conscious about what I eat. I'll do regular exercise. I'll do my 5S sadhana prescribed. What is the 5S, by the way? Ouch. Say something, please. It hurts. Order, please. Sadhana, Swadhyaya, Satsang, Seva, Swarupanishtha. Thank you. That's why we say we stand as one family. So to do them, we utter these things, but we have to have that commitment in seeing it through. Do it in smaller bits. You cannot eat the entire thali in one go, however gluttonous you are. You can eat it with 1 spoon at a time. Like at the AA, that's what it's called, anonymous. They say 1 day at a time. ODAC. So 1 step at a time. Swarupanishtha means to abide in one's own self. Yes, go ahead. Applying brakes on emotion in a panic attack, the scare that you have, the fear that you have, the anxiety that you have, therefore you apply a brake, is going to topple the system. Instead, if you can apply the brake in a pattern wherein it does not allow your system to skid or spin around, and that happens through the breathing technique. Therefore, there are 2 distinct patterns. Now, if you look at the technicality of it, have you ever, applied a brake on your car at, say, when you're driving 40 miles per hour? Sudden brake. Have you observed that the brake pads or brake system that you have in these modern cars, it has a anti-skid brake system, ASB. It's written in your thing. So what happens in that anti-skid brake system? The brake doesn't go slamming into the tires, but instead at 1000 pressure points per second, it is like pumping. So it is not braking it all of a sudden, but it is giving that many number of brakes in a given moment, which impacts it less with more control. That is how the breathing system tries to impact the fast moving emotion. I have given you the most technical example. So you can go study about ASB and you can find. Thank you. So are the questions answered? Online ones. So that was answering Manoj. Okay.
So we mentioned the two branches, the mind and the breath. I was confused as to what exactly is their relationship to consciousness, since we said there's some connection.
Without, I mean, Akhil. I'm getting old, man. You need to help me out there. So Akhil's question is, I did mention that the thought and breathing are connected to consciousness. What is the connection? A simple connection that can be understood is thought can exist and move as long as it is supported with the consciousness which empowers it, powers it to move. Similarly, breathing happens as long as consciousness is connected with this system. When consciousness is disconnected, there is neither thought nor breathing. So both functionalities function because of the presence of consciousness. So both draw their energy from that consciousness. You cannot disconnect it directly, so use the breathing to control the thought, and through that breathing come back to its root, the cause, which is the consciousness itself.
So maybe confusing consciousness with reflected consciousness, but like in the case.
No, here we are not going through the route of reflected consciousness. I am directly talking about the main consciousness.
So I mean, my question based on that would be like in the case of coma, like there's the lack of sense.
Do you remember this?
Do I remember? And there's breathing there, so. But I guess that's another.
But there is no thought process there.
So there's thought, there's no thought, but there's breathing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Why go to coma? Even in the deep sleep state, there is only breathing and there is no thought. There are various situations like that. If I splash real cold water into your face all of a sudden, there is breathing, but there is no thought. And your other idea about the Camtracon practice that we have to start next year onwards, even then you have breathing but no thought. You know what I'm talking about. Hopefully it did not get recorded. So all questions answered? Whose question? Ambika. Okay.
So her question was, in many cases, in many situations, our heart will tell us to do one thing and our head will tell us to do a different thing. So her question was, how do you know which one to listen to?
Always listen to your head. The question was that heart says something and the head says something, which one to listen to? Listen to your head. And there is another easy method that, as I always have taught, that the first thought is always an innocent one. So when you have a problem, sit down, close your eyes, disconnect with everything, not even think about that particular problem, disconnect with it, do this breathing exercise, then introduce this concept or that thought which is disturbing you. The first thought that comes as a solution, stick to it, because both head and heart are in sync about that particular solution. But usually what happens, the first thought that comes, we tend to do the best of the three. Maybe my next thought after that is a better thought. That's where we lose that innocence and become corrupted with our shades of conveniences. Any questions, sir?
So the next question after that is, what if it goes into our heads too much and not our hearts? Which is Padma's question.
Padma's question is what we hear to our head too much and not to our heart. Gurudev made it very clear in matters which is related to yourself. Deal with your head undoubtedly. But cut some slack to the people around you. You cannot expect such kind of perfection from others. Therefore, when you deal with others, deal with your heart. Is it clear, Padma? Okay. No more questions. Thank you, Manoj, for stopping. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.